All right, so today we're going to be taking a deep dive into some really interesting AI predictions.
Sounds good.
We're looking at this really cool document. It's called Future of AI, Perspectives for Startups 2025, and it's from Google Cloud.
Oh, wow. Yeah, Google Cloud is really making some moves in the AI space.
They are, and they're not the only ones.
Yeah.
This document is full of predictions from leading AI experts, venture capitalists, really across the board.
I'd imagine it paints a pretty exciting picture of the future.
It does, and one of the big takeaways, and this has come from multiple experts, is that AI is massively underhyped right now. Like, we are just scratching the surface.
That's interesting because it seems like AI is all anyone is talking about these days.
Right, but they're saying it's even bigger than we realize. Elad Gil from Gil Capital actually compares it to the early days of the internet boom.
Wow, so he's saying this is like investing in Amazon back in 1997.
Basically, yeah. He says the level of investment in GPUs right now is comparable to that era. So it's a pretty compelling argument.
Definitely makes you want to pay attention.
For sure. But before we get too carried away with all the hype, there's one expert, Yoav Shoham from AI 21 Labs, who throws in a bit of a reality check.
Oh, really? So what's he saying?
He's warning against what he calls prompting and praying.
Prompting and praying. What does that even mean?
Well, it's basically relying solely on these large language models. Like, you just give it a prompt and you hope for the best.
So it's like using these powerful AI tools without any real strategy or structure.
Exactly. And he argues that this approach has some serious limitations.
That makes sense. These tools are incredibly powerful, but they're not magic bullets.
Exactly. And that's why Shoham is advocating for building what he calls AI systems.
Okay, so what's the difference between an AI system and just using a large language model?
It's about bringing together different components, not just relying on one tool in isolation.
So kind of like building a team of AI players, each with their own strength?
Yeah, exactly. And he specifically mentions combining large language models with things like retrieval mechanisms, which help AIs access and process information more effectively, and even traditional code.
So it's about recognizing that AI has its strengths, but also its limitations, and then building systems that leverage those strengths and compensate for the weaknesses.
Right. It's about being strategic and intentional with how you use AI, not just throwing things at the wall and see what sticks.
That makes a lot of sense. I'm curious, though, what are some of the specific applications that these experts are excited about?
Well, one that comes up a lot is the idea of AI agents.
AI agents? Okay, I've heard that term thrown around, but what exactly are they?
Essentially, they're designed to carry out tasks autonomously, potentially even managing entire workflows for us.
So like a super-powered personal assistant.
Pretty much, yeah. Jennifer Lai from Andreessen Horowitz even talks about AI agents booking flights, managing calendars, things like that.
Wow, that would be amazing. Free up so much time and mental energy.
Right, but Linesl points out that there are some hurdles to overcome before we see widespread adoption.
Like what kind of hurdles?
Well, things like infrastructure limitations, for one thing. These AI agents need a lot of computing power to run smoothly.
Ah, that makes sense. And I imagine there are also challenges around integrating these agents with all the different systems we use.
Exactly. And then there's the user experience aspect, too.
Yeah.
It needs to be seamless and intuitive for people to actually want to use it.
Right. It can't be so complicated that it ends up creating more work than it saves.
And Dylan Fox from Assembly AI also highlights these last mile issues, as he calls them.
Last mile. So the final steps to get these technologies from the lab to the real world.
Exactly. He talks about things like user experience, specific evaluation metrics, and even the ability to handle unexpected situations or rare words.
Those are all really important considerations that often get overlooked.
And Fox believes that these last mile issues could actually be a big opportunity for startups.
Interesting. So while the big companies are focused on developing the core AI technologies, startups can differentiate themselves by making those technologies actually work for people in the real world.
Exactly. And he emphasizes that user friendliness and practicality will be key battlegrounds in the AI space.
So it's not just about building the most advanced AI, it's about building the AI that people actually want to use.
Exactly. Now, speaking of pushing the boundaries of what's possible, there's one expert, David Friedberg from Ohalo Genetics, who makes a pretty bold prediction. He thinks 2025 will be the year of the robot.
The year of the robot. That sounds a bit ominous. Are we talking about a robot takeover?
No, nothing like that. But he sees AI driving a revolution in robotics like we've never seen before.
Okay, but robotics is already a pretty advanced field. What's so revolutionary about AI's impact here?
Well, he's talking about a whole new level of sophistication and autonomy thanks to AI.
Yeah.
Like machine vision, self-learning robots, things like that.
So we're not just talking about robots doing repetitive tasks in a factory anymore. We're talking about robots that can adapt, learn, and even make decisions in real time, potentially even in unpredictable environments.
Exactly. And Friedberg doesn't stop there. He sees AI transforming other industries as well, like media saws, even biology.
Wow, media science and biology, that's a pretty diverse range of applications.
It is. So let's start with media. He imagines AI enabling the creation of personalized content on the fly, completely changing how we consume and experience entertainment.
Personalized content, so like movies or video games that adapt to my individual preferences.
Exactly. He talks about endless storylines, variations, all driven by AI.
That does sound pretty futuristic.
And then in the world of SaaS, he believes AI will empower any company, big or small, to build their own custom software applications easily and affordably.
So potentially making those expensive off-the-shelf solutions obsolete.
Exactly. And then in their own biology, he sees AI being used to design changes to the genome of any single-celled organism or plant.
Hold on, are we talking about AI designing new medicines and crops?
You're catching on. He envisions AI creating new biologic drugs, more nutritious crops that use fewer resources, even groundbreaking therapies for human health.
This brings up a crucial point that several experts touch on the importance of data in the AI revolution.
Right. Everyone's talking about data being the new oil, but it's not that simple. Sarah Guo and Mike Vernal from Conviction actually challenge the idea that big companies with huge data sets will automatically rule the AI world.
So it's not just about the quantity of data, but also the quality and relevance of that data.
Exactly. They argue that the most valuable data is often tied to specific real-world use cases, and this is where startups have a real shot.
So by focusing on niche areas and gathering targeted data, startups can compete with the giants.
Exactly. They don't need to have access to these massive generic data sets. They can win by having the most relevant and high-quality data for their specific problem.
This is all really fascinating, but I'm curious, how do these experts suggest startups actually navigate all of this? What concrete advice are they giving?
Well, luckily, this document is packed with practical tips for founders looking to ride this AI wave.
Perfect. I'm all ears. Let's dive into that in the next part of our deep dive.
Sounds good.
So we were about to get into some of that advice for startups, right? How to actually ride this AI wave.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've got this AI revolution, potentially as big as the internet data is the fuel, but how does a startup actually, make it all work?
Right. And luckily, this document doesn't just talk about the big picture. It actually gets into the nitty-gritty of startup strategy.
Okay, so what are some of the key takeaways?
Well, one of the first things that jumped out at me was this concept of product algo fit.
Product algo fit. That's a new one. What does that even mean?
It comes from Yoav Shoham, the guy we were talking about earlier, who warned against prompting and praying.
Oh, right. So is this like the antidote to that?
Basically, yeah, it means designing your product around what AI can actually do today, not some hypothetical super AI that might exist in the future.
So it's about being realistic, focusing on practical applications, rather than chasing after some far-off dream.
Exactly. It's about understanding the current limitations of AI and building your product accordingly.
Okay, that makes sense. So don't try to boil the ocean. Just focus on what you can actually achieve with the tools we have right now.
Right. And Ravaraj Jain from Lightspeed Venture Partners takes this idea a step further. He talks about startups needing to become AI native.
AI native. I like that. What does he mean by that?
It's about adopting a completely different mindset. You're not just adding an AI feature to your product, you're baking AI into your company's DNA.
So it's like AI is not just a department or a project, it's woven into the fabric of the entire organization.
Exactly. And he emphasizes that this goes beyond just the technical side. It's about your company culture, your hiring practices, your whole approach to building and innovating.
So instead of playing catch up, you're skating to where the puck is going to be, as they say.
Exactly. You're anticipating where AI is going and building for the long haul.
I like that it's about being proactive, not reactive.
Right. And this ties in nicely with Dylan Fox's advice about bridging the last mile.
Right. Last mile. We talked about that before, the practical implementation challenges that often get overlooked.
Exactly. And Fox believes that this is where startups can really shine.
So while the big companies are focused on developing the core AI technologies, startups can differentiate themselves by making those technologies actually work for people in the real world.
Exactly. It's about focusing on those often overlooked details like user experience, specific evaluation metrics, the ability to handle those tricky edge cases.
It's like the classic David and Goliath story, but with algorithms and data instead of slingshots.
Exactly. And Fox argues that startups have a few key advantages here.
Like what?
Well, for one, they're more agile, they can move faster and experiment more freely than those big bureaucratic companies.
That makes sense. Less red tape, more room to innovate.
Exactly. And they're also often closer to their customers. They have a better understanding of the specific pain points that AI can solve.
So they can build AI solutions that are truly tailored to the needs of their users.
Exactly. Now, while we're on the topic of practical considerations, Mayada Gonyama from Thread AI brings up another important point. Don't forget the fundamentals.
Back to basics. What does she mean by that?
Well, she's talking about the importance of building a solid foundation for your AI systems.
Okay, so things like robust infrastructure security, making sure your data is well managed.
All of that is crucial, but she also emphasizes the importance of observability.
Observability. Okay, that sounds important. What is that exactly?
It's basically being able to monitor and understand how your AI is performing in real time.
So you can see what's working, what's not, and make adjustments as needed.
Exactly. It's about having visibility into the inner workings of your AI system so you can catch problems early on and continuously improve performance.
That makes sense. You don't want to just set it and forget it. You need to be able to track and optimize your AI systems over time.
Right. And she also advocates for a composable approach to building your AI systems.
Composable, what does that mean?
It's about breaking down your AI system into modular components that can be easily assembled, rearranged, and upgraded.
So it's like building with Lego blocks instead of pouring concrete.
Exactly. It gives you more flexibility and adaptability as your needs change and the AI landscape evolves.
So you're not locked into a rigid architecture. You can easily swap out components or add new ones as needed.
Right. And this is especially important in the world of AI where things are changing so rapidly.
I'm starting to see a theme here. Practicality, adaptability, user focus. It seems like the key to success in the AI revolution isn't just about having the most advanced algorithms. It's about building AI systems that are robust, flexible, and most importantly, actually useful for people.
That's a great observation. It's not enough to build cool tech. It needs to solve real problems and make people's lives better.
And while we're talking about building for the future, Jerry Chen from Greylock Partners throws out another interesting challenge. Think beyond traditional business models.
Oh, I love when we get into the business side of things. What kind of new models does he see emerging?
Well, he believes that the traditional software licensing model might not cut it in the AI world. He encourages startups to explore new ways to monetize AI's capabilities.
So instead of just selling software, AI startups might be offering solutions that actually replace operating expenses or create entirely new value propositions.
Exactly. He talks about services that automate tasks, reduce costs, or offer hyper-personalized experiences across different industries.
That's a pretty big shift, and a few experts like Crystal Huang from GV specifically highlight hyper-personalization as a potential game changer. She believes AI-powered hyper-personalization is going to be huge in 2025.
Personalized movies, I'm sold. But wait a minute, what if the AI gets my taste wrong and I'm stuck watching endless romantic comedies?
Exactly. That's the challenge. It's not enough to just personalize. Those experiences need to be so good that users can't imagine going back to the old way of doing things.
Now, how do startups avoid the rom-com trap and ensure their hyper-personalized offerings actually deliver lasting value?
Well, the experts emphasize that it's not a one-and-done deal. You need to constantly be learning and adapting.
So it's about building AI systems that can evolve and improve over time based on user feedback and data.
Exactly. And it also ties back to that idea of being AI native. It's about having a deep understanding of AI's capabilities and limitations and being able to anticipate where the technology is going.
It sounds like surviving in the AI world requires a delicate balance, a clear vision for the future, combined with the flexibility to adapt to a constantly shifting landscape.
That's a great way to put it. It's a dynamic environment, and the startups that can ride the wave of change and keep innovating will be the ones who come out on top.
So we've talked a lot about practical strategies, but what about the human side of this AI revolution? How does all of this impact the future of work? And what role will humans play in this increasingly automated world?
That's a great question, and it's something that several experts address in this document. Let's dive into that in the final part of our deep dive.
All right, so we've talked about AI agents, hyper-personalization, all kinds of cool stuff. But there's one big question we haven't really tackled yet.
Yeah, the elephant in the room. What happens to us humans in this whole AI revolution?
Exactly. Are the robots coming for our jobs? Is this the beginning of the end?
Well, I think those are valid concerns, but honestly, a lot of the experts in this document seem pretty optimistic about the future of work.
Really? So no Terminator scenario.
No, not exactly, but they do emphasize that things are going to change in a big way.
Okay, so what kind of changes are we talking about?
Well, Arvind Jain, the CEO of Glean, he has a really interesting perspective.
Okay, what's his take?
He doesn't see AI as a job killer, but rather as a tool that can dramatically boost human productivity.
Okay, so instead of replacing us, AI will help us work smarter and faster.
Exactly. He even throws out the idea that we could become 10 times more productive with the help of AI.
10 times? Wow, that's a game changer.
Right, and that's why a lot of these experts are emphasizing the need for humans to adapt and learn new skills.
So it's not just about learning to code or becoming an AI expert.
Right, it's about developing the uniquely human skills that AI can't replicate, things like critical thinking, problem solving, emotional intelligence.
Ah, I see. So those skills become even more valuable in a world where AI can handle the routine tasks.
Exactly. Someone still needs to be able to think creatively, make judgments, understand complex situations.
And of course, someone needs to build and manage these AI systems in the first place.
Right, exactly. So there will be plenty of new jobs and opportunities emerging in the AI field.
And it's not just about individual skills either. Some experts also talk about the need for organizations to adapt. So how can companies prepare for this AI-powered future?
Well, they need to become more agile and adaptable. Traditional hierarchies might not be the best way to foster innovation in this rapidly changing landscape.
So it's about creating a culture of experimentation and continuous learning.
Exactly, and it's about empowering employees to embrace new technologies and ways of working.
It sounds like AI is not just changing technology, it's changing the entire way we work, learn, and even organize ourselves.
Absolutely. It's a truly transformative time, and it's both exciting and a little bit daunting.
I agree. There's a lot to be excited about, but also a lot to think about.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the future of AI for startups, what's the one message you hope our listener walks away with?
That's a good question. I think for me, the big takeaway is that AI presents a massive opportunity for startups who are willing to be bold and adaptable.
So it's not just about the technology, it's about the mindset.
Exactly. These experts make it clear that AI isn't just some technical upgrade. It's a chance to create new businesses, solve real-world problems, and ultimately build a better future.
I love that it's not just about building cool tech, it's about using that tech to make a positive impact on the world.
And it's important to remember that the future of AI isn't predetermined. We're all actively shaping it with the choices we make and the actions we take.
Well said. All right, so for all you startup founders out there listening, are you ready to dive into the world of AI? Because it sounds like the future is waiting.
And it's going to be an amazing ride.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found it insightful, and we'll see you next time.